come to you. I don't know how you feel, but in the middle of the speech, it sounded like he should almost just stop talking and saying, everything is just a mess. Inflation, it's clear there's going to be lots of pain this year. Your average basket of goods going up by about 7%, you were saying, for both years. Growth is slowing down. We're now less than 1% in terms of projections. Food inflation, 11% in the fourth quarter. And this is more pain if you're in debt, because now your interest rates are going up as well. In light of all of that, was it the right decision?
I think it was the right decision. I think, and I keep harping on about the same thing, the current account deficit, which all it means is that there's too much investment relative to savings, so there's either a savings deficiency or that expenditure of the nation. If South Africa was a family, it's spending significantly more than what it earns relative to its income. And for you to, that's not sustainable, right? And what must happen is you must cut back on expenditure. And how a country cuts back on expenditure is not dissimilar from how a family cuts back on expenditure. You must tighten the belt. Government will have to tighten the belt. They've promised that. They will reduce their budget deficits. They will be compelled to. If they don't, we will definitely get a sovereign rating downgrade, even if that's not already baked into the cake. And the central bank is helping that belt tightening by increasing interest rates. It's an exceptionally painful process, just like it's an exceptionally painful process for a family that's in debt review, to cut back on some of the nice things in life. That's what South Africa is going through at the moment. But if we can get ahead of this thing, we can end up with an economy that's significantly less vulnerable in 2 or 3 years' time, which then sets us up for another growth spurt.
Owen, what would you say to those who say, no, we shouldn't target inflation, we should target growth, we should keep rates low, put more money in people's pockets, even spend more to get people involved in this economy?
I'll suggest to them they stop being suicidal because, you know, if you take that stance, you're actually digging yourself into a deeper hole. We continue to be expansionary, to try and create jobs. The kind of jobs the economy has been creating, for example, we've been creating jobs via the government's expenditure programs, where I actually do believe that the government maybe needs to take a step back and say, is there some things that we can prioritize for now and leave some projects for later? Because what's happened in the corporate space, for example, guys have pulled back their projects. People in the mining space, is the most challenged. Guys have stopped investing in new projects and have reduced their project budgets there. So I think that, it will be ideal for people to understand that to create new jobs and to grow the economy, you must have a very conducive environment. You can't always try and fund it, in my view. You need to create an environment that says entrepreneurs out there find it very easy to expand their businesses and to get more people hired. And I think it's easier to make business decisions that can see more people getting employed if you're a business, especially a small business. So our government should really, in my view, be focusing on using that cash to foster an environment where entrepreneurs can get more people hired than trying to keep interest rates very low, which could be unreasonable, in my view, given the fact that this big challenge that we're dealing with, which is inflation. And we were chatting earlier with you and Sizwe about how the oil price is actually helping us out by, staying at these levels, sub $40 a barrel. Is very important, because otherwise, if oil was trading above that, these inflation numbers will be looking way more horrid, in my view.
I guess it's worth recognizing that we're not receiving the big boom that we would have from lower oil prices. Everything should be going down, getting cheaper, but it could be much, much worse.
Of course. So if the oil price was, so we've done an analysis, for example, which suggests that these inflation numbers that the SARB has presented us today might be too hawkish, depending on the oil price, right? So I think implied in these inflation forecasts of 7%
is an increase in the oil price.
Is probably an oil price that averages above $50 to $60 over the forecast period.
So if we stay lower for longer, it's good news.
Yes, so if we stay lower for longer, even if you keep the rand at around 16.50, you assume Eskom gets around 13%, you assume food inflation averages 9.5% to 10.5% over the next 2 years, you should have inflation still above 6%, but not averaging 7%, like the SABC. But I think this is a signal that they're extremely worried, and they're sending a message to us that they've raised interest rates, and they probably, if they don't see inflation moving in the right direction and being contained, going to raise further.
This is just the beginning. Presumably, looking at this inflation outlook, we could definitely see more rate hikes. So I'd like to know from both of you, what are you expecting for the entire year?
Look, I think potentially we could get a total, in my view, of 100 basis points. So we've got 50 now. I believe there's maybe 2 more 25s coming. And what he has done here, the good governor has bought himself time, actually, to see the impact of his last decision. So I don't think it's going to be every MPC meeting there's a rate decision. Most probably he's going to wait maybe for about 3 odd months to see how the rest of the world is acting. I think that gives him a different position than Janet Yellen, who, in my view, was too hasty by increasing interest rates in the US, because now she's come out and now she's come back and she's saying, oh, you know what, let's look at the rest of the world. Things are not so kosher. We need to probably...
We're running out of time. What do you expect for the rest of the year?
I think another 50 basis points in 25 installments.
Okay, so next time we're going to make it fun and we're going to put real money on the table and look at our predictions. Thank you both, gentlemen. Not a great outlook for the year based on what the Reserve Bank Governor was saying today. A lot of pain in store, especially if you're in debt. Just be careful, tighten your belt along with the country, I guess is all that we can do. And just to recap, Lesetja Kganyago announcing that interest rates go up by 50 basis points. That takes prime to 10.25%. That's a wrap for now. I'll have more in business news later on.